What is up, everybody? Bobby here, the Nintendo Guru. New name, same game. I kind of like that. I'm going to keep that for a while. So anyway, today is Wednesday, NES Day. Here we go. So the past couple of weeks, I rekindled this love with my NES Day and talking about past old 8-bit era games that I really loved that Nintendo did. None more than Mega Man. And honestly, I don't know how people can talk about Nintendo and the NES and not use Mega Man in those same words, in those same sentences, right off Jump Street. Mega Man was a classic game, still is a classic game. It's a great game. My biggest one was Mega Man 2. So, but to be able to talk about Mega Man 2 and what I loved about Mega Man 2, we need to talk about the original. So I remember my cousin one day, all my family members, we had NESs, and we would bounce around from house to house, and you know, back in the day, to entertain, you'd go to people's houses, you know, something we don't do a lot today. Because you essentially just sit there and stare at your phones all the time anyway. But when I was a kid, we used to go to my cousins' houses and stuff, and my one cousin, Jamie, shout out Coop, he would always play like NES games and stuff like that as well. Like, but he was big on like Mario, and Excite Bike was huge for him. But one day I went over there and he had Mega Man, the original Mega Man, the one that like on the cover looks real weird, doesn't look like the true Mega Man that everybody knows. Anyway, he was playing this game and we were trying to play it. It was like, it was cool, but we couldn't necessarily beat anybody. Like, we couldn't figure out the game, and we're reading the instructions, but we weren't really reading the instructions. We're looking at the colors and the pictures and all that, and we think like we're reading, but we're really not reading. Because if we read, we'd realize that Mega Man could exchange the powers of the bosses that he beats. I remember Jamie let me borrow Mega Man, and I took it home and I played it for a little bit for the weekend or whatever, and I took it back and I just tried it for a little bit, but I couldn't really get my grasp on it. I think I had to give it back the next day because his mom called my mom screaming that I took the game and I shouldn't have took the game, and Jamie shouldn't have allowed me to take it. And so my mom drove me over there and I dropped it off or whatever. And I think it was more that he wanted to play and he was upset because he gave it away. So he ratted me out and got me in trouble because he was notorious for that stuff. Always, you know, the goody two-shoes kid, even though he was rotten behind closed doors, he was bad. He was the worst of them, the worst. But mommy's baby, he could do no wrong. But anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent. And so anyway, I took the game back or whatever and I gave it to him, and then he started playing it. And he called me later on. He was like, hey, I figured something out with this game. I can take the weapons of the bosses I beat and I can use them. So essentially, like, if you had Cutman could beat Elect Man in like 2 or 3 hits, as opposed to with the blaster, you couldn't do anything. Like, it would take like forever, and it was a challenge to beat the bosses that way. Never mind Yellow Devil and all that and how you got into all that stuff. But regardless, it wasn't for a while later, like a year or 2 later, I finally got my own copy and I beat the game. But then Mega Man 2 came out, and it was like, wow. It was like they took the best parts of 1, popped it into 2, but by the time 2 hit, you kind of had a better feel. Like, the graphics just seemed to pop compared to 1. Just more crisp, more colorful. They took on a whole new world, in my mind, at least. I felt like it was just awesome, the way they did everything. Like, I liked when spoilers, when you get to the end and you're fighting Dr. Wily, but you're not realizing you're fighting Dr. Wily. You think you're fighting him, but you're not, and all that stuff. And you are, but you're not. You know, it's kind of weird. It's hard to explain without full spoilers, and I don't want to really, it's a 20-year-old game or whatever. I don't want to give away the ending. But regardless, like, I liked the aspect of changing the weapons, and it was kind of like a thought process. You had to think, you know, you couldn't just go like, I want to go fight this guy. You had to think, like, did I have the weapon? You know, how do I beat Woodman? Well, maybe Metal Man will do it. Or how do I beat Metal Man? Well, maybe Fire. Like, you had to think, like, what were the process steps? Like, what beats it? It's like paper, rock, scissors. You know, paper beats rock, and rock beats scissors, and scissor beats paper and stuff. But you had to think, like, okay, if I'm going to fight this boss or go after this boss, what weapon will work in order to beat him? And there was always one that was always just prevalent, that you could beat him with the bomber, you know, with the blaster, the arm cannon. But once you got past that one, and you had to go, okay, I have this weapon now, what's the next step? 3 was a good game as well, 4 was good, but then it just kind of started to fade a little bit. It just became more of the norm, more of the same, not really changing a whole lot. The storyline was a little bit of a change of the story. It was always the same thing. Dr. Wily would come back, go after trying to take over the world and all that. It wasn't until later that they started to change things when they went to the X series. But for the most part, like 2 to me is the crown jewel of the series. 3 is a very close second in my mind. But 1 is solid, but it's not as looked upon as the best of it all. Like, everybody looks at Mega Man 2 as this is it, this is the best, and this is awesome. So I encourage you, if you have not played Mega Man, you should really go out and get the game and give it a shot. And definitely Mega Man 2, you could buy the collection, the Legacy Collection. It just came out on the 3DS. You could buy them all on the eShop on the Wii U. I don't know if they're all on the 3DS, but like I said, you can buy the collection for 20 bucks or 15 bucks. Might as well get that because it's a good collection of all the games, 1 through 6, I believe. And so that is all. I hope you guys enjoyed my video for wedNESday. Please remember, share, like, subscribe, leave a comment below. Like, what were your thoughts about Mega Man? Did you enjoy it? Was it a big hit for you? What was your favorite Mega Man in the series? NES only. Don't get into the Super Nintendo. That is all. Peace out, Cub Scout.